Flanderization is the process through which a single element of a character's personality, often an originally mild element, is inflated in importance over the course of a work until it becomes their primary defining characteristic. Derived from The Simpsons character Ned Flanders, due to him changing from Homer's kind-hearted and friendly neighbour to having his entire character be based around him being religious, Flanderization is often seen as a sign that a show has driven away from the quality that it once possessed. However, in the case of the FX sitcom It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Flanderization has been used to keep the show afloat for 15 seasons. I'm going to break down each of the 5 main characters from the show and show you how they've been Flanderized and also exaggerated all round in order to keep them funny. Charlie Kelly, played by the talented Charlie Day, is a prime example of Flanderization. A lovable yet clearly unstable character, he fits the grimy style of the show he's in perfectly. When the series began, the 3 main male characters, Charlie, Mac and Dennis, were seen as somewhat similar. Back in 2005, when writers Charlie Day, Glenn Howerton and Rob McElhenney were still working on trying to find their stride, the show was a more grounded and realistic sitcom about believable, albeit zany and all-around morally incorrect characters. Charlie, despite being somewhat naive and scruffy, was not the filth-wallowing, musically inclined, illiterate, depraved goofball that we see in the later seasons. The Flanderization of Charlie's character has allowed for the writing of many different ongoing jokes and gags, such as Charlie's illiteracy, the specifics of which changes each time the gag is used, and his love for absurd interests and foodstuffs, such as cheese, milk steak, ghouls, and a good old-fashioned game of night crawlers.
Darkness falls, and magic stirs. It's stirring. As we become the creatures of the night.
Although the exaggeration of these attributes makes Charlie seem definitely more unhinged and capable of worse things, it actually allows the audience to like this character due to his absurdity outweighing his clear bad deeds. Charlie's Flanderization is one of the most apparent cases, as he goes from the slightly dim janitor of Paddy's pub to the squealing, glue-huffing man that we know and love, which can be the cause for so many great moments, such as the Pepe Sylvia debacle.
So I go up to Pepe's office, and what do I find out, man? What do I find out? There is no Pepe Sylvia. The man does not exist, okay? So I decided, oh, shit, buddy, I gotta dig a little deeper. There's no Pepe Sylvia, you gotta be kidding me! I got boxes full of Pepe!
My favourite character on the show, and quite possibly my favourite character in comedy history, up there with the likes of George Costanza, Dennis Reynolds is one of the most amusingly evil characters in television. However, this fantastic character is not only due to Glenn Howerton's outstanding performance, but also the peppering of Flanderization and exaggeration that has allowed the Golden God to grow into what we see in the later seasons. Dennis, although vain and narcissistic, is still seen as one of the clearer thinkers of the gang at the beginning of the show. There's no stock straight man on Sunny, but Dennis came fairly close early on, at least compared to Mac and Charlie, although as I said, they were all regular and believable bad people. However, as the show continues through the seasons, we eventually realise that Dennis is the most unhinged member of the gang, with his vanity being Flanderized to the point of believing that he's a god,
The Golden God!
and his antisocial behaviour being Flanderized to the point of bursting into spontaneous crazed breakdowns and wishing violence on others.
D, I swear you would be of more use to me if I skinned you and turned your skin into a lampshade, or fashioned you into a piece of high-end luggage. I can even add you to my collection.
Are you saying that you have a collection of skin luggage?
Of course I'm not, Dee. Don't be ridiculous. Think of the smell. You haven't thought of the smell, you bitch!
This exaggeration of what Dennis once was makes for his character to grow into something captivating and somewhat frightening, but most importantly, hilarious. Played by the wonderful Danny DeVito, Frank Reynolds is another great example of positive Flanderization within It's Always Sunny. Joining the gang in Season 2 as Dennis and Dee's rich, neglectful father, Frank is immediately seen as different from the rest of the group. Unlike our other main characters, Frank's background as a wealthy businessman sets him apart from the gang as he doesn't possess the characteristics of run-of-the-mill Philadelphia bar owners. However, as the entire gang becomes more cartoonish and over the top, Frank does as well as he wants to be a part of their group, and somehow becomes one of the most gangish members of the gang. Frank moves in with Charlie, and despite being a multi-millionaire, he lives in squalor and filth to match Charlie's lifestyle, and before you know it, he's just another member of the gang, his slimy businessman qualities flanderized to make the sliminess far outweigh the businessman. His affliction for prostitution and unethical schemes such as the development of sweatshops have been exaggerated so that his ruthless, gun-loving businessman personality combines beautifully with his filth-wallowing personality to create the Frank Reynolds that we know and love. He's gone from riches to rags. Frank's character change is mentioned many times to the point where he has an entire episode dedicated to him losing his memory and becoming the same Frank that he was when he first joined the show. Now, his character is used as a clever plot device, living similarly to the rest of the gang, but whenever they need a zany and outlandish episode premise, any number of things can be explained by Frank being rich. This changes their characters and the show even more, as it's no longer about the grounded Philadelphia barmen, but now about downright mentally unhinged characters doing the unthinkable while also owning a bar. Let me start by saying that Kaitlin Olson embodies Dee Reynolds perfectly. Originally the closest thing the show had to a voice of reason, Dee was written as a disapproving figure to the boys. However, Kaitlin Olson eventually told Rob, Glenn and Charlie to write her as depraved as the rest of the characters, and when they told her they hadn't really written women before, she told them just to write her like they would a man, and she would make it female. After this, Dee's selfishness grew and grew. Her early dream of becoming an actress and comedian was exaggerated until she started thinking that she was extremely funny and talented, and after rewatching some earlier episodes, I realised that her bitterness and blunt sarcasm has been flanderized to the point of her becoming vastly more loudmouthed than vulgar. Her rage even matches that of Dennis sometimes.
I am a golden goddess! Who are you?
Played by the man himself, show creator Rob McElhenney, Mac is a very interesting character to say the least. Towards the beginning of the show, his personality was just one of the guys, as was Charlie's, as was Dennis's. But as Rob, Charlie and Glenn found what they wanted the show to be as they went along, Mac, like the rest of the characters, was flanderized and exaggerated for the better. His slight, tough guy persona eventually developed into Mac putting on the facade of an over-exaggerated affinity for both bodyguard and karate culture. His need to be the gang's muscle leads him to gain and lose both fat and muscle.
Dude, we've been through this, okay? I'm cultivating mass.
Stop saying that! You are not cultivating mass, and if you are, stop cultivating and start harvesting!
After having an on-off relationship with a transgender woman early on, it becomes progressively clear that Mac's tough guy persona may be covering something up. Mac's sexuality becomes a joked about topic over the course of the show to the point where it becomes very, very clear that Mac is gay, and he denies it despite the rest of the gang knowing. When Mac does come out, he mentions the fact that he's a homosexual a lot, and in season 15 he begins ranking his many identities. This need that Mac has to be labelled by his characteristics is a perfect example of Flanderization, as Mac's questioned sexuality and rough demeanour have been exaggerated to the point where he needs to weigh them up against each other in order to figure out what his main identity should be. Another characteristic that he weighs up against these is his religious personality. First established in the season 1 episode Charlie Wants an Abortion, Mac references his liking to the Lord and researches into God's stance on different things. As the show goes on, Mac becomes a die-hard extremist Christian with a bigoted agenda for quite some time. Now that he's out as gay, his ideas of the church are confused. Mac is brilliantly written, as the gradual exaggeration of his sexuality, religious beliefs and need to act all tough all match up nicely to create this insecure and uncertain of himself character, which is not only comedy gold but also very well fleshed out. So, there you have it. That's how the gang has changed over the 15 seasons of the show. An honourable mention would be Rickety Cricket, played by David Hornsby, as he transformed from a priest to a homeless man to just the absolute lowest a person can get. In my opinion, Sunny is one of the funniest shows ever made, and being the perfect anti-sitcom, I think it changed comedy and television forever. So, I just wanted to compile some thoughts. Thank you very much for watching.